In Dubai's skyline, every glass tower has a story. Some begin with oil money, others with government deals. DAMACs? It started with food, served on trays, not in Michelin-starred restaurants, but in makeshift kitchens, feeding thousands. Long before DAMAC was stamping its name on luxury high-rises, Hussain Sajwani was running a catering company in the early 1980s. Not the glamorous silver service kind you see at celebrity weddings. This was large-scale, industrial catering for army bases, oil field crews, and construction workers scattered across the Middle East and Africa. Think convoys of supply trucks, massive kitchen tents, and the constant challenge of feeding people in the middle of nowhere, 3 times a day, without a single Uber Eats in sight. It was gritty, logistical, and relentless. But that's exactly where the foundation was laid. Catering wasn't just about food, it was about operations, timing, and scaling something from scratch. Every successful delivery meant Sajwani had negotiated suppliers, managed tight deadlines, and kept hundreds, sometimes thousands, of people satisfied under unpredictable conditions. The margins weren't huge, but the lessons were priceless. And the money he made, that went straight into fueling his next moves. Dubai at that time was still a city in the making. The skyline was a handful of ambitious buildings, the streets less crowded, and the property market nothing like the fever dream it would later become. But Sajwani saw the city's hunger for growth. While most people were focusing on what Dubai was, he was quietly calculating what it could be. His catering business was expanding, contracts were growing, and with them came a certain freedom, cash flow, connections, and confidence. The son of a shopkeeper who once sold watches and pens in a souk was now dealing with high-level clients and multinational operations. It's the kind of jump that changes how you see opportunity. Instead of just serving existing demand, he started thinking about creating demand. Even in those early days, Sajwani wasn't just delivering meals, he was building relationships. The kind of relationships that could open doors later. Contractors, government contacts, influential figures in emerging industries. Many of them first met him across a catering contract. And while they ate, Sajwani listened, observed, and learned exactly where the next big opportunities might be. By the late 90s, he had already dipped a toe into small-scale property investments, buying land when prices were low, and holding on to it like someone who knows a storm of opportunity is coming. To most, it probably looked like a side hustle. To him, it was the beginning of something far bigger. That's the thing about humble beginnings. They don't always look humble to the person living them. For Sajwani, every buffet table and every remote site kitchen was another step toward building something beyond food. Something that would eventually shape the look and feel of Dubai itself. In 2002, Dubai made a decision that would flip its property market on its head. It allowed foreigners to buy freehold property. Before that, you could live here, you could rent, you could even do business. But owning a slice of Dubai was off the table unless you had the right passport. Overnight, that changed. And with it, the city's real estate sector went from a simmer to a full rolling boil. For most people, this was a big announcement. For Hussain Sajwani, it was a signal flare. This was the moment he'd been quietly waiting for while running his catering empire and stacking small property investments on the side. He didn't just see a market opening, he saw the chance to define it. That same year, he founded DAMAC Properties, not as a cautious side business, but as a full-scale leap into luxury real estate. And here's the thing, he didn't start small. Some developers would have played it safe, testing the waters with modest apartment blocks or mid-market housing. Sajwani went straight for the high end. The thinking was simple. If Dubai was going to attract global buyers, they wouldn't come for good enough. They'd come for, I can't believe this exists. He launched with Marina Terrace, a 38-story residential tower on the Dubai Marina waterfront. At the time, that area wasn't the fully developed playground it is now. It was a construction zone with more cranes than coffee shops. But Sajwani had a knack for betting on locations that looked like empty promises to most people. He knew the city's master plans. He knew where infrastructure was heading. He built where the future was already pointing, even if the present didn't show it yet. The law change triggered a frenzy of interest from investors in Europe, Russia, South Asia, people who wanted a second home, a status property, or just a smart investment in a city rising out of the desert at lightning speed. And DAMAC positioned itself right at that sweet spot, new, ambitious, unapologetically flashy. It wasn't just about selling apartments, it was about selling the Dubai dream. Sajwani understood that buyers weren't paying for square footage. They were paying for a lifestyle, a story they could tell. The branding, the visuals, the show apartments, every detail was built to seduce. From marble lobbies to panoramic water views, DAMAC's properties promised not just a home, but a statement. This pivot wasn't luck. It was timing meets preparation. Years of running a catering business had sharpened Sajwani's operational instincts and taught him how to scale under pressure. Real estate was a different product, but the same core skills applied. Anticipate needs, deliver on promises, and never shy away from bold moves. By the end of the first few projects, it was clear. DAMAC wasn't just another developer cashing in on a hot market. It was setting the tone for what luxury living meant in Dubai. And this was only the beginning. Once DAMAC had its footing, the company didn't just build homes, it built headlines. This was the era where Hussain Sajwani decided that if you were going to sell luxury, you couldn't just talk about it. You had to make people feel it the second they saw your name. And so began a decade of projects that blurred the line between property development and brand theater. DAMAC Hills was one of the first bold moves. A massive master-planned community with villas, apartments, and its own golf course, designed by none other than Tiger Woods. At the time, slapping a world-famous golfer's name on a residential project wasn't common in the Middle East. But Sajwani knew it wasn't really about golf. It was about association. If Tiger Woods could stand for skill, prestige, and success, then anyone living in DAMAC Hills could borrow a bit of that shine just by moving in. Then came the branded residences that made international fashion houses part of the Dubai skyline. DAMAC partnered with Versace, Fendi, and later Roberto Cavalli, not to design clothes, but to design entire interiors. Imagine walking into your living room and knowing that every curtain, couch, and chandelier had the same DNA as a Milan runway. It was outrageous. It was extravagant. And it worked. Because for the buyers DAMAC was courting, normal wasn't worth their time. These partnerships weren't just marketing gimmicks. They became part of DAMAC's DNA. The developments weren't built for the everyday commuter or budget-conscious family. They were built for people who saw their home as a trophy. That's why the amenities read like a wish list. Private pools, infinity edges, lobby art installations, concierge services that could arrange everything from a dinner reservation to a helicopter tour. The Skyline projects took things further. DAMAC Towers by Paramount Hotels and Resorts wasn't just an address. It was a four-tower statement, with Hollywood-inspired design, luxury suites, and views that made the city look like a movie set. DAMAC Residenze brought in Fendi Casa to craft interiors that didn't just look expensive, they looked untouchable. Each launch was more than a real estate event. It was a spectacle. Fashion shows, celebrity appearances, and marketing that made you feel like missing out would be a life regret. Sajwani understood something crucial. In luxury real estate, the experience starts long before you get your keys. It starts the moment you first see the ad, or hear the name, or imagine yourself inside. When the dust from the financial crisis settled, DAMAC could have played it safe. Quiet projects, modest marketing, no unnecessary risks. But that's not how Hussain Sajwani operates. If anything, the comeback years were even flashier. This was the phase where DAMAC decided that selling property wasn't just about location and architecture. It was about creating a spectacle. One of the boldest moves? The car giveaways. Not just any cars. Bentleys, Lamborghinis, and Ferraris. Buy a luxury apartment, and you didn't just get parking space. You got something to park in it, worth 6 figures. It was the kind of stunt that got people talking, whether they were in the market for a home or not. Some called it over the top, others called it genius, but it did exactly what it was meant to do: keep DAMAC in the headlines. Then came the sports connection. DAMAC became an official sponsor of Chelsea FC, stamping its name alongside one of the most recognized football clubs in the world. For a real estate company, it was an unconventional partnership, but it played into the same strategy, linking the brand to prestige, international recognition, and a lifestyle that went beyond bricks and mortar. The global vision started taking shape too. DAMAC began expanding into new markets, with projects in Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Lebanon, and even London. The Nine Elms development in the UK, with interiors by Versace, was a statement that the DAMAC formula, luxury branding, prime locations, and headline-grabbing design, could work outside Dubai. Sajwani wasn't just selling to local buyers anymore. He was building for a global audience that wanted a slice of Dubai-style living wherever they were. And it didn't stop at property. DAMAC's parent group began exploring other ventures: hospitality, fashion, even technology. There were murmurs about data centers and investments in digital infrastructure, hinting that Sajwani was thinking far beyond real estate. The idea was clear: diversify the empire so it could thrive no matter how the property market shifted. Through it all, the marketing stayed unapologetically extravagant. Project launches were full-scale productions, complete with celebrity appearances, live performances, and jaw-dropping visuals. The brochures looked more like high-fashion magazines than sales materials. Even the show apartments felt like stage sets. Every cushion fluffed, every scent curated, every angle Instagram-ready. By this point, DAMAC wasn't just another developer, it was a lifestyle brand. Owning a DAMAC property wasn't just about having a place to live, it was about buying into a certain image. An image of success, status, and yes, a little bit of excess. Sajwani had turned his company into a symbol, one that people either admired or envied, but almost never ignored. From feeding oil field workers in the desert to handing out luxury cars with penthouses, the journey was as much about vision as it was about timing. DAMAC had shown that in Dubai, ambition and audacity could build more than towers. They could build a legacy. From food trays to glass towers, DAMAC's rise is proof that vision and timing can turn grit into glamour. Hussain Sajwani didn't just build homes, he built a brand you can see in the skyline. If you'd like more stories like this, hit subscribe and stick around. There's plenty more where this came from.